Hello and welcome to the program Cotton Board, and in this program we discuss all things cricket in Zimbabwe. My name is Tinashe Chimbambo and I'll be your host today. Today we have got a special guest, Garry Brent. We will have on this program guests from yesteryear, from current players and future stars. And today we have got Garry Brent. Gary, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Very
thank
good.
you.
Gary, we have come here to your workplace and we are really excited about what you have got to inform us about what you are doing. Can you give us a brief understanding of what's going on with your company and the boys at the back?
Absolutely. We have the Performance Hub in Greenbridge. It's a pretty new facility, and we catering for cricket from grassroots right up to professionals. So we cater for we got the cadet program, which caters from 5 years old to 12 years old. Then we've got the Bakers in Futures League, which is from 12 years old to 18, 19 years old. And then we've got the Alistair Campbell High Performance Program, which caters for professionals and people who want to take cricket as a career.
Excellent. So basically you are trying to bridge the whole gap from grassroots up to international cricket.
Absolutely.
And how is that gone so far?
It's going well, thank you. It has gone well. It's been a slow start, but we're getting there and we're getting a bit of traction. It's been great to see the national sides, the Zimbabwe under-19, the four-way franchise guys coming in and practicing. So it's been really good. And yeah, we look to the future, and we're just hoping to develop, like I say, from the grassroots up. But not only that, but we're very much interested in coach education as well, which is a big driving force here at the Hub.
You obviously have been at all levels of coaching. You have done provincial, we have done grassroots. And how important is the program that you have from the cadets to the Bakers in to the international to be implemented literally all around the country?
No, I think it's vital. I think we need a pathway, and we need to have a checklist of what our players need at certain times of their career. And so we can have a clear, so the coaches know exactly what they need to coach at a certain age, and moving forward. And obviously, there will be movement in amongst that. But if we can have a sort of national structure, I think it'll just benefit our cricket no end.
Yeah, obviously, you came from a very strong schools cricket program back in the day, which probably all of us went through. The big players in Zimbabwe, Hamilton Masaka, Tinda Taibu, all came through that structure and grassroots program. How important is it for us to go back to a structure like that?
I think vital. Because we need to start them young, so that by the time they get to 19 years old, they've got all the skills that they need. But not only that, but also the mental skills that we need to compete. And now we've been playing international cricket for a long time now. We've got a lot of coaches who have played international cricket. So there's a lot of experience out there. We now need to get that experience filtered out into our coaches and into our players.
In terms of coach education in and around your program, what are you doing about that? And are you spreading some of that talent all around the country, or is it just limited to your program at the moment?
At the moment, we obviously in-house, the coaches that are here, we do a lot of work with them. We've got a lot of professionals that practice in and out of here. And so we get to utilize their professionalism really, and we've got a lot of expertise outside of cricket, but still cricket related, for instance, fitness and nutrition and things like that. So we get those professionals in, and they certainly help our coaches in-house. We've had a coaches conference recently, which was open to the whole country, which was very, very successful. We had over 60-odd coaches, which was great. We plan to do many more of those. So it's like I say, we're in the beginning stages, but we certainly wanting to spread that to the whole country.
Excellent. So basically, you also were a Mountaineers coach before.
Yes.
And apart from that, you were doing your other things: academy, national academy, Alistair Campbell Academy, and the similarities of the programs that get players going forward in all those programs. How are they?
Certainly for me, from my Mountaineers days, moving on to the Alistair Campbell, the Rangers, I've changed a few things, as in fitness has become a little bit more important, especially with the youngsters. I think we have to teach them early that fitness is something. It's not the everything, but it's certainly a big aspect of cricket and professional sport. And with that discipline, with the fitness, comes discipline in the game.
Yes.
And I think that really, really helps. So that's certainly an area that I've maybe adjusted. Still got a lot more areas to adjust. We learned a lot of lessons with the Rangers and from the Mountaineers as well. So we still work in progress, and I think every coach is a work in progress. So yeah, it's been interesting, and I've loved speaking to the professionals that have come from the UK who are playing in our domestic competition.
Yeah.
Speaking to them, racking their brains. It's been excellent.
Basically, we're talking about a game that's evolving. We're talking about economies that are evolving. We're talking about pretty much everything around us that is evolving. How are we preparing our coaches for that evolvement in the game?
Yeah, there is a big evolving of the game. I mean, we're having one day games where 400 is getting beaten.
Yes,
it's so the games, and I remember when I was playing a long time ago, but 250 was a winning score.
Excellent.
So things have changed, and so we have to adapt with them, and that's the whole the reason why we need more coach education. We need to get some expertise. I think we're very lucky in having Dave Houghton come back to Zimbabwe. I think he's a fantastic coach, but we've got a lot of expertise here in the country. We've got a lot of guys who've played a lot of international cricket, and I think we need to get that information out to the coaches.
Yeah.
So just to share, and knowledge sharing, I think is something that we really need to work a little bit better at.
We speak about teaching coaches new ways of getting things done. The players, I know that's a very rigid part of our game, where players know a way of doing things, the way that they have seen things being done. This new age of 400 being an everyday score.
Yeah.
How are we filtering that information to the players? Because we've got traditional players who like to look good, who like to feel good about their shots, but the game might not need that at the moment.
Yeah.
How are they welcoming that switch in mentality, especially?
That's a great question, and I haven't spoken to a lot of professionals, but we're in an age where we have to adapt, or we will be left behind.
Yes.
So I think we're getting there, but I don't think it's as a huge turnaround as we might think. I think it's more a mental shift, as opposed to making. We don't have to hit the ball further.
Yeah.
We just have to hit it more often and more regularly.
Okay.
And I think it'll come down to, again, our coaching. I'm a big advocate of coach education, and how can we score 400? How can we score 400 in a test match, first innings of a test match?
Yes.
How can we go about batting for 2.5 days or 2 days? How do we face 150, 170 overs? So those are the sort of, and we get collaboration from all the top people in Zimbabwe, let alone anyone from outside. I think we'll come up with some exciting future things for the coaches and for the players.
I want to just take you into something specific. Say for a player like Chakava, you've seen how he have just literally turned the switch on and turned around the way he plays.
Yeah.
He's got more shots now, he's more flourishing, he's scoring bigger runs at a much faster rate. What can you attribute that sort of change to?
Maturity. I think he's becoming a much more mature player. He's always been a very hard worker, and that's now paying off. And again, all top performers, there's one key ingredient, is that they do work hard at the game. Not necessarily they work the hardest, but they work smart, but they do work hard. And I think Reggie was always been one of those players. I also think that he's rotating strike better than he used to, and that's a big factor.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I don't think it's a massive, if we can just have less dot balls, and how do we go about doing that? And then these, all the guys are wanting to learn the switch hit, the reverse sweep, the ramps.
All the exciting stuff. Yeah.
We've got Doug Morelia who invented the shot. We get him in, and how did he go about that? Because he was very good at it.
Yes.
So we've got, like I said, we've got the expertise. And I don't think we have to limit players if the ramp shot is their shot.
Yeah.
I think it's a great shot to play because they don't put fielders behind the keeper.
Excellent.
So it's good. And how do we exploit strengths of the individual?
Yeah.
And that's again, we've got a big guy, he hits the ball hard. Well, let's get him hitting the ball hard.
Exactly.
We've got a little guy who can't hit the ball hard. Well, let's make him maneuver the ball around. So, and that's sort of the planning that we've got to have for each player.
So we're looking at the cadets, we're looking at the backers in, and we're looking at the high performance. How are these programs fighting and maybe trying to get that maturity that we speak of Chakava at a much earlier stage? Because Chakava is nearing and some of the players, they are nearing the end of their careers,
Yeah.
and that's when we're starting to see their better cricket.
Yeah.
You know, how can we get a player like Milton Shumba, for example, Jonathan Campbell, for example, getting that sort of maturity at a much younger age, for example, like the New Zealanders do, like the English do, they get their players playing in more important roles for their teams at a much younger age. How are these programs that we are busy with enabling players to get that maturity level?
Great question, and thank you for asking that, because it's a big driving factor, in especially in the Bakers Inn, which is the sort of 12 to 19-year-old groups, is that we are giving players more of an opportunity to make mistakes on the field and have decision-making roles by themselves. We live in a country where we've got amazing discipline, and our kids are great, and we're world-renowned for that. But with that comes a little bit of a negative, as in they keep getting told what to do, so they actually don't think for themselves. So we need to enable the kids to go out, and when they're young, it's much easier to make mistakes, and it doesn't matter too much. So we give them that the responsibility of making decisions, and then the key after that obviously is discussing, well, you did this, why, and maybe this would have been a better way of doing it. But letting them make the mistake, as opposed to, we see a lot of coaches roaming around the outfield, shouting at players, go there, whereas we need to just let the players do that, because once they start thinking for themselves, then it's their whole game changes. And a great example is, I spent a month in Middlesex. I was invited over there, and I took a practice of their academy. And their coaches, they just wrote up a scenario, off you go. And the players would come back and just have this, okay, this is what I was trying to do. I was bowling over there, and the batsman said, I saw him down there, so I did this. And I was just like, whoa. These kids and the 14 to 16-year-olds, the whole session was their session. The coaches said very little, but it was a fantastic session, because they were made to think for themselves. They were made to execute what they talked about, as opposed to just talking about it. You have to go execute it. And I think it was a very big learning curve for me, and something that we're really emphasizing a lot at the Bakers Inn, is to give players the responsibility to think for themselves. That's where the maturity comes in much earlier than otherwise.
Speaking about your experience overseas, it's obviously Middlesex is just one of the many counties that you have worked with all over the world. How similar are their grassroots programs to ours, and if anything, what do we need to try and catch from what they do?
I think they do a lot of fun stuff, especially early on in the fundamental stage of the development. Your grade 0s, grade 1s, grade 2s, grade 3s, they just let them play. There's very little coaching. It's more just giving them an opportunity just to play the game and love the game, because everyone loves playing. Not so many people, especially the kids, they don't want to sit there for hours trying to hit ball with their elbow straight, and so and then we develop from there. The UK have got a very good development program, and a long-term athletic development program, and which is very, very it's worked in the UK, I think, and maybe we just need to learn from that. And I think, again, it's going to come to the educating the coaches on those programs and what we need to do at certain stages of development. And I don't think we're far away at all. Just the way Middlesex do their things, and the way other teams around the world do their things, it's not very different to what we do. But there's a few fundamental differences, but again, it's very easily addressed. It doesn't have to cost any more money. It's just done properly, done well. And we can be up there again where we should be, because we've got the talent. We certainly do.
Generally, as a cricket population, we do have some big numbers. Compared per se New Zealand, who have been in a couple of T20 World Cup finals, World Cup final. They are the current championship test champions, and they don't have a much bigger pool than many of the other countries. And probably they do something different to everybody else, but they've managed to consistently produce top performance. How can we copy that sort of mechanism and bring it into our own shows?
I think they've got to, and don't forget, cricket is their second best sport. Now, rugby is their main sport, so half their population don't even play cricket.
Yes.
So you know, it's, and I equate Zimbabwe to New Zealand a lot because we're very similar in terms of population and whatever.
Yeah.
But and one thing that is really honed in on is attitude and the person. So and they a big focus of what they talk about is a good person makes a good sportsman.
Okay.
Because if you do the if you're a good person and you work hard, you will be a good sportsman anyway.
Yeah.
But the bit of the showboaters and the guys who've got a bit of an ego, you'll see some of their most talented players have never played, talking about rugby in the All Black side.
Yes.
Because they didn't have the humility, they didn't have that, which helps you at the highest level. Because when you're this showboat and this showman, there's lots of glittery things when you start playing international cricket. There's lots of different
media and stuff like
exactly
that.
Distractions.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they are. They're distractions. And if you don't have that humility where I've got to go back to how did I get here and let me keep working, probably work harder.
Yeah.
You start and you're thinking the distractions are where you're at, and just having a goal to be the best and to be the top performers, and that's what if we can change that, and again it's not big changes that we have to do. Our coaches have got to start exemplifying that, and then from there we pick players who are of that that type, like Reggie. Yes. Reggie's a great example. He exemplifies exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Is that he works hard. He's a humble guy. He's a really, really nice guy, and that's why he's starting to get the heights that he's going to.
And you talk about discipline a lot, and you talk about how being a good person in the society actually helps you become a good player.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the opposite.
Okay.
Amongst the players that have been in and around you, and probably maybe younger or older than you, who do you see that this person could have become a much better player had they been able to control something in their personality?
Yeah. One person who comes to mind, and I hope he doesn't shout at me for speaking, but the most talented person that I've ever come across in my life is Andrew Blicknut.
Yeah.
Just the most phenomenal talented. He could bowl 140. He could score runs against anybody.
Yeah.
Throw with both hands. One of the fastest fielders around. And he should have played 150 test matches for Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Let alone he should have played 300 odd one days, but he never did. And the reasons he will know.
Yeah.
But I just wish that he had those qualities, and he would have been a very special player for Zimbabwe, I think.
Excellent. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are catching up with Garry Brent at the Hub, and we can take a break, and we'll be back with you very soon. Welcome back. We are at the program Cotton Board, where we are catching up with Garry Brent at the Hub. And earlier on, we spoke about all things that he's been doing, the grassroots program that he's been running. And Garry, we're going to get a little bit personal with you.
Sure.
I hope you allow us.
Cool.
As a 20-year-old, you made your breakthrough, and it was an exciting one.
Yes.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I was on the farm, and someone drove up, and suddenly I was told that I had to go to Pakistan. It was a crazy time, and something I look back with a lot of fondness. And made my debut in Quetta.
Yeah.
So yeah, we lost the game, unfortunately, but it was a start of something. And once I had that taste of international cricket, I just loved it, and I knew that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
We talk about many 20-year-olds breaking through into big sides, and their stories are different. Okay, and we want to know your story. Coming from being at the farm, the age groups, stuff like that, how different is your story to other stories that you...
I don't know how different, but my story was, I didn't make many of the age group sides going up. I only made the under-19 side towards the end, and we played in the Coca-Cola Week in South Africa.
Yeah.
I think Mark Boucher and Paul Adams were in the same sort of age group as I was. And we did okay. We had a good side. Matamba Nadzors were the guys. Dirk Fullion, I think. Yeah, we had a really good side. So, and then, moving on, the only reason why I made my debut was that we had a lot of injuries. There was, I think, 3 or 4 seam bowlers were down with injuries, and I think I was either 5 or 6 on the list. And but eventually, and I made my debut, with Gavin Rennie and Everton Matamanodza. We all was our first tours, and it was great. It was a great time, and on the farm, I realized that I went to go work, and I realized that wasn't my passion. My passion was cricket, and I was very lucky. I was working for my dad at the time, and I'm forever grateful to him because he gave me the opportunity to work and also play cricket, which was I just, like I say, I thank him all the time. It was a great opportunity for me to do to earn money to live, and then obviously to play the game I love.
Obviously, the injuries were not planned, and obviously the timeline of when you made your debut, it wasn't a question of when, but you were going to make your debut, because look at the numbers that you managed to rack up and stuff like that. How ready were you when that call-up came?
Honestly, I don't think I was ready. At the time, I would have said I was ready, but I certainly wasn't, and I had no idea what international cricket was about. I mean, playing against Wazam Akram and Waqar Yunus in those times, and it was just like, whoa, these were guys, my childhood sort of heroes, and now I'm playing against them. It's like, whoa, it didn't make sense in my brain, and but I loved it. And I realized that this is what I wanted to do, and that was a big turning point. That first tour was something that I look back on a lot of fondness.
So if I'm to take you back there, and I say, Garry, prepare yourself for this debut, what did you do different leading up to that call-up?
Knowing what I know now, I do a lot of things differently. But I'd certainly, I don't think my batting throughout my career was anywhere near. My whole schooling career, I was a wicketkeeper up until Form 3, wicketkeeper batter.
Oh, you know that?
Yeah, and so and that's why cricket is a late developing sport. So we can't pigeonhole people too early in the game. And the reason why I suddenly started bowling was Everton and Darlington had to move up to first team, so we had no bowlers in our under 16 side. So I had to front up, and the rest is history. I made under 19s as an all-rounder, a bowling all-rounder. So and again, I batted at 3 my whole way through school, and then I just, for some reason, and I didn't work as hard as I needed to in that first part of my career. And I got distracted very easily, and this is why I'm very passionate about teaching people not to be, because I could have done a lot better if I had been less distracted.
You were one of the first people to use the exponentiality of the slower ball, and you had so many skills. You could pick. How did you prepare yourself for that? Because more often than not, they just came through like, oh, he's got another slower ball, oh, that's back of the hand, that's a knuckle ball. How did you prepare, and how were the coaches around you supportive of what you were trying to achieve with those particular changes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it to be honest, I got it from Venkatesh Prasad. I think he's the Indian bowling coach at the moment. I watched him at a World Cup, and I saw him bowling then. I thought, oh, well, I needed something. I never bowled fast. I was very medium pace, and I needed something to help me. And I knew that accuracy was again one of my strengths that I had to do. I had to be accurate, because if you don't have pace, you have to have accuracy. And then I have to have something else, because it's very easy, if the ball's not doing anything, to just to bat. So I had to develop other skills. Again, I wished I had developed a better bouncer. I didn't, and that was a mistake. Looking back now, because even if it wasn't a very good one, but just to have something like that. But like you said, I probably focus on other things, and swinging the ball. That was also one of my things that I tried to do more often, was try to swing the ball both ways, and spent a lot of time doing that. And it helped, because like I said, I didn't have pace on my side, which was sad.
Excellent. So obviously you had Prasad to try and copy, and then obviously that inspired a couple of other bowlers. For example, Tawanda Mpariwa, very, very useful bowler, small like you. But how important is it for youngsters to have someone that they look up to?
I think it's vital, and that's why we play the game, is because we see somebody that we like, and we think, oh, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
And you know, for me it was Ian Botham. You know, I just thought he was a great character. How he won the game with both bat and ball, and Tawanda, a great story. You know, we used to practice together before a game, and we used to use the top of a bottle top, and I'll never forget, in one session he hit it 4 times. I mean, he had a tremendous skill, and I've got a lot of respect for him. He's a nice guy.
We want to play the game and want to represent our countries, but we also want to represent our countries at the very highest level. How was the experience for you playing at the Cricket World Cup?
Oh, it was one of the reasons why that I came back after the being missing for 2 years. It was incredible. I just loved being part of it, and the World Cup. There's a lot of hype about it, but it's also a great opportunity just to showcase your skills against the best in the world, and that's what international cricket does for you. It's all well and good facing bowling machines over and over again at whatever pace you want to, or get someone to throw to you. But when you up against the best in the world, it's fun. It's awesome.
We talk about the emotions and the hype of the World Cup. Ireland, West Indies.
Yeah. That was a low point. I'd love it if we had DRS in those days. I had the left armer who ended up getting 100. I think I had him a very good LBW shot very early on.
Yeah.
Funny enough, to this day, the umpire still comes to me and apologizes. So he did. Yeah, when I was in Middlesex, he said, "Oh, please, I'm sorry about that."
Who was the umpire?
It was Ian Gould. Yeah, lovely guy, and. Yeah, and listen, we have no bad feelings. We should have won. Again, we go back to that innings, and with the bat, I had a lot of dot balls, and if I'd got off strike a little bit easier, we probably would have won that game. So yeah, that I look back, and for me personally, I probably could have done better to win that game.
Excellent. So you batted with Stuart Masikenyeri in that later part of that game, and. The communication between the two of you was a little bit bizarre. Tell us more.
Nah, that's pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure. Stu and I get on well. And he's he's a good friend of mine. But when you're in a high pressure situation, pressure does funny things to you.
Yes.
And it did funny things to us. And we I didn't handle it well. Stu is a good player. He he got us in a good position to win the game, and I think the rest of us let him down. And I'll take full responsibility for that. And that was like I said, it was nothing to do with him, but more to do with us.
It's something that happens to the best of us, and it happened to Zimbabwe that particular day. And the result of that particular match, how did it affect the way you went about the rest of the tournament?
Well, it was a massive result, because that was a game we should have won. And then I think Pakistan. Anyway, it got to a stage. I can't remember the ins and outs, but we ended up having to win or something, but we couldn't because Ireland were on better points than us, and so we were never going to get through to the next round because of that result, which was sad, very, very sad.
It's a pity, but it's something that players need to experience and learn from.
Yeah.
And can we say, as a team, as a group, how much did you learn from that experience?
I don't know, because I don't know how much debriefing we did of that, to be honest, and I think we should have done more. And to be honest with each other, and I think a lot of people are not as honest as they would like about how they handle pressure.
Yeah.
Because when you see somebody do something and you think, he's a professional cricketer, how can he do that? It's something that takes it, and this is where again it comes down to our coaching, and we need to, and this knowledge sharing, because everyone who plays international cricket will have that.
Yeah.
But it's how we deal with it.
Yes.
And there's lots of ways that we can get around it. And just to help people, so when they're going through that, we give them some tools to maybe help them through it. Yeah. And we didn't have that as much as, but now we have the experience to help other people. So that's where we need to go with that, I think.
Okay. So earlier on you spoke about you coming back because of the World Cup. You had walked out when the other guys left.
Yeah.
And besides the fact that there was a World Cup in the picture, what else pushed you to sort of come back? Because it was still the same administration, it was still the same people who were running the game.
No.
The circumstances around your leaving had not changed much, but you decided to come back, and you were one of the probably the few white guys who played on for a longer time. What constituted that change of heart?
That's a really good question, and what did change was that I realised that cricket was what I do.
Yeah.
I had 2 years of doing nothing.
Yes.
Life was tough, economically, struggling. My wife at the time was supporting me because when you're a professional cricketer, you don't have much else.
Yeah.
Which again I think was a mistake. So I realised that to make ends meet, I needed to play cricket again.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. Thank goodness I did. I had the best years of my life. Well, certainly some of the best cricketing years of my life after that, having made that decision.
Yeah.
And having learned from what I had before, I had a great opportunity to rectify some of the things that I did badly in the past. And I think my numbers speak for it, that I was a much better player older. Comes to maturity again,
Yes,
you see.
yes.
So but I had to go through that to learn that, I think I did.
When you came back, the team was much different. The team was much younger. Obviously, you had to take up probably at the back seat a different role in terms of helping kids who were coming up with how to do international cricket. How did you find that role?
I find it quite challenging, and the reason being is that I was 10 years older than everybody else, literally everybody else, and
Yes.
so communicating with everybody was difficult because I wasn't seen as a peer.
Yeah.
I was seen as this old whatever.
Yeah.
So my next, like I said, struggling with communication in that regard. So what I did was I said, well, I'm going to go through I'm going to lead through example.
Yeah.
I was one of the fitter guys, and I worked one of the hardest. So and I want to be an example to the young kids that this is what you need to do to do an international.
And how did that go? How did the young kids that were in the team take?
Some took it up, some didn't.
Yeah.
And that's everything, So yeah, it was good, and I loved my time, and I loved playing with the guys, and it was a really interesting time.
You being a much older guy in the team and having new kids coming up all the time and having to somehow lead them through your actions, how did that inspire your next move as far as career is concerned?
Yeah, again, so we were playing in Bulawayo. I went for a catch, and my baby finger dug into the ground and actually broke.
Yeah.
And it was quite a bad break. And I was in hospital, and I was thinking, well, imagine that was a leg.
Yeah.
Because this is going to heal in a couple of weeks, and I'll be back and playing. But what if that's a leg? Suddenly, what have you got behind you? How are you going to? I had a family now. How am I going to support my family when cricket suddenly stops? And it was a big moment for me. So very soon after that, I decided, while I was still fit enough, I could go and play cricket in the UK, play club cricket, and support myself that way, as well as get myself qualified coaching-wise. And because I knew cricket still, it's in my blood. It's something I want to do. I'm very passionate about it, and it's something that I love. So I knew that was always going to be my path.
Yeah.
And it was a great, like I said, that 2 years, it gave me an opportunity when I came back to learn from different coaches, speak to opposition coaches, and learn a lot of things. I had lists of all things that I would do, things that I wouldn't do, and it was, like I said, it was a great opportunity, knowing that coaching was something that I was going to do in the future.
Yeah.
But when that happened, it was time to make I need to go and do this.
And the first couple of steps, the baby steps you took to your new chosen career, obviously there is lots of players. Myself, for example, okay, career's ending, you're moving into new things. What sort of baby steps did you take in terms of equipping yourself for the next challenge that was coming into your path?
Yeah, so I had to move to the UK and get myself qualified there because I had played international cricket. I could get into the level 2, and then through that getting onto the level 3, and then I got in. I was a cricket professional at a school, which was a great start for me. My first sort of team.
Yeah.
And we went to India. We toured India. It was rugby school, and it was a great opportunity for me to get all what I'd learned from before, and from the courses and everything like that, to now implement it at a young age, and then hopefully from there, it grew and grew, and then I came home, high performance coach here, and then the Mountaineers job came up. So that was I was very lucky, as those sort of opportunities opened up.
Yeah.
And then sort of the rest is history from there.
Very lucky indeed. And from that perspective of being fortunate to be around the game and learning a lot about what happens before you actually retire and then after you retired, and then the Mountaineers job came.
Yeah.
And then obviously you had some very fruitful years.
Yes.
And the group that you worked with and stuff like that, they really appreciate you.
Yeah.
We speak to Tino Mawoyo, Natsai Shangwe, a lot of guys that were at Mountaineers, Timson Maruma, they really appreciate the way that you dealt with the team as a whole. What prepared you for that sort of challenge? Is it the UK, the internationals, or that? Just give me more about how it prepared you to take such a big job and do well from the onset.
I think exactly that. It's all those experiences put together. The time in England, I learned a lot. The time coming back, I learned a lot. And then, Tina Moyo was one. I had a really good conversation. We had a team discipline issue that was coming up, and he gave me a really great bit of advice on how to deal with that. So this learning from the players, and because coaching is not just about telling guys how to hit a ball properly. It's about man management.
Yes.
And helping them. And again, something that I tried to do in the Mountaineers as well is also give them an opportunity to look further than just career and start. We had a few guys who went on to do other stuff, and that gives me as much pride as some of the guys who played, who went up and played international cricket.
Yeah.
Because there's only a few people who can make the stage.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people who don't. But if we can equip them for life and making sure that life is the main focus, not cricket is something that we do.
Yeah.
It's not something who we are.
Yeah.
And if we can get that differentiation, I think it's really important for their development. So to answer your question, I think it's all those experiences put together helps you, and I'm still learning daily. Just today speaking to Ben Curran and how he goes about his work, and it's just fascinating.
Excellent. There we have it, viewers. We are speaking to Garry Brent, and we are at the program Cotton Bound, and today we're catching up with Garry Brent. We're going to take a break and we'll be back with you soon. Welcome back to Cotton Bound, where we are at the hub today, catching up with Garry Brent. Garry, before we went to the break, we spoke about a lot of very emotionally draining stuff in and around the days that you played, West Indies, the Rebels and stuff like that. Lighter moment, that win against Australia.
Oh wow, yeah, that was an incredible day for us. I do remember warming up and looking across at the Australians, and maybe I was just seeing, but I didn't think they were taking it very seriously. And then we just had one of the best days that we could have had. I mean, literally everything that we could have done right, we did right. I'll never forget, I was thinking I was mid-on and mid-off deep, and I dived for a ball just to stop it, and it hit my hand, and it rolled to Stewie, who was at long off. And it looked like it was all orchestrated. It wasn't. But it was just one of those days, BT throwing down the stumps, Vusi hitting the stumps from side on. It was just an incredible day of cricket. And then the hour or 2 hours afterwards, walking around the stadium, because South Africa and Australia have a love-hate relationship, and the South Africans were just loving us.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was great.
Obviously, there was quite a number of Zimbabweans in there as well. So
massively,
Cape Town, and it was buzzing. So basically, after that, the relationships in the team obviously improve after a victory, and everything else in that particular moment is better. How much did you learn as a team from that victory?
Well, I think mostly what we could learn was that we could compete with the best in the world, you know, and if we did what we could do well, we could compete with anybody in the world. And I think, you know, hopefully that was a lesson that everyone took away from them, which I'm not so sure. My first, you know, couple of games back was against Bangladesh, in Bangladesh. That was a very low moment, losing 5-0. And I don't think we had the belief that we could beat these guys. And we certainly, I mean, and then what happened was the return journey when we came back, and we in Harare, we beat them well.
Yeah.
So, you know, and just that, you know, that I think the learning that we're good enough at this level.
Who were some of the teammates that you looked up to, I mean, throughout your career in your sides?
I was very lucky to, I was under two very good captains in Alistair Campbell, one of the best man managers that I've ever come across. I'll never forget getting my first test wicket. He came and gave me a big hug, and I'm not a huggy person, but he was, you know, he just knew how to deal with me. Andy Flower was another one who knew how to deal with me, you know, because I was a bit different to other people.
Yeah.
And then Guy Whittle was my roommate for a very, very long time. We're still very good friends today. You know, I had some amazing, and with Guy and Paul Strang, Brian Strang, is that they had standards.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily the captain that set the standard. It was the senior players.
Yes.
And that was when, you know, when good things happen, is when you've got a senior players who expect things, especially from us younger little guys coming up, having competitions just at fielding practice against Guy, against all the guys, just about how well we could field, and that came out, you know, in how we performed. Because we were always putting ourselves under pressure because we were up against our mates. So it was good, and I learned a lot from those guys. You know, I was very lucky, you know, to come up through some really strong characters and also strong leaders.
As a medium pace bowler, sometimes you used to have Andy up the stumps and stuff like that. And I recall, I think you've got 4 or 5 leg side stumpings with Andy. Was some of those planned? Did you guys think about it and say we could use this tactic?
I'd love to say they were, but no, they were balls that I had got wrong.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, Andy was a fantastic gloveman, and towards the end of my career, obviously I got slower and slower, so I had to have the keeper up, and it helped me so much. You know, and I did get a few stumpings. I don't tell many people that, but that does happen.
Yeah. Okay. You already spoke about how important and how good Alistair Campbell was as a captain, and you did play under a couple of different captains. Who amongst the ones that you played under really stand out?
Alistair and Andy were great for me, and again, you know, Alistair was my first captain, and then Andy later on. And the reason why I respected him so much was that we were in the NatWest final in the UK playing against England at Lord's, and he had to tell me that I wasn't playing, and the way he did that, I will respect him for the rest of my life, and because it's a very hard job to do, to tell people that they're not playing in a huge game like that. So, and he you know, he had the courage to talk to me and say, these are the reasons why you're not playing, but these are the reasons how you can get back into the side. And I really respected him for that. And you know, he was a guy. If you did well, if you didn't do well, he'd be the first guy to tell you that you weren't doing well. You know, and I just love that honesty and that truthfulness. And I think we need lots of that, because sometimes leadership is about that. It's about doing hard things.
You as a bowler, obviously, there's times where you really get into the batsman's face, and then tempers flare up, sledging comes up, and obviously there is some really nice things that happen around sledging. And what are some of the best things that you have had on the field with regards to sledging?
I'd never forget, I was in India. We were playing against Saurabh Ganguly, who's head of India cricket now. And I was, you know, I was a very competitive person. Still am a very competitive person, and I was bowling and I was, you know, saying all sorts of things to him. And he hit one down the ground once, and he just walked up to me and goes, "Who do you think you are? Was it Akram?" And there I was fighting little powder puffs, and so, you know, and I didn't know quite what to say to that. He was so it put me in my place.
It did. So say things are tough and you need somebody to bet for your life in Zimbabwe.
Wow. Well, I mean,
Past and present.
Yeah, just for their records, there's only two guys, and that's Brendan Taylor and Andy Flower. Those guys are, like I said, just their records, and seeing them up close and do their magic up close. It's been a treat to watch.
You said you didn't really do as well as you'd have wanted with the bat, and you scored 59 against South Africa at some point.
Yeah.
Which is a sign that you could bet. Yeah. Which I can say that in your career you have got a couple of regrets that you've got. Which are some of the notable ones?
Well, that is the main one, and also with my competitive streak, I maybe overstepped the mark a few times. Yeah. With my competitiveness, just with people I played against. I'm talking mainly locally. International cricket, I think all the gloves are off, and I don't think I needed to be as competitive as I was. And yeah, sometimes I regret some of the things I used to say. But trying to work on rectifying that. But yeah, certainly the batting was something that I just wish I'd worked. I'd worked literally before I got that 59. I'd worked for 5 or 6 hours the day before with Robin Brown, our coach then. Yeah. And just with the short pitch bowling and just getting a technique against it, which again I don't know how old I was, 30 odd, and before I got a technique against fast bowling. I just wish I had done more work earlier on that.
Excellent. So earlier on we did speak offset about your best sides. Can you give us a roundup?
Yes, absolutely. So my best test side, I think I would open up with Grant Flower and Hamilton Masakadza. I think those were good opening batters. Murray Goodwin comes in 3 for me, and then Dave Houghton, Andy Flower, and Brendan Taylor make up that sort of next group of batters. Yeah. Then my bowlers, my all-rounder would be Sean Williams. I think he's done incredibly well in Test cricket. He's got some great numbers. Yep. So he'd certainly be there, and I'd look to him to bowl. And then my bowlers, Heath Streak, again, he comes in as an all-rounder. He's been our best bowler by a long way for a very long time. He'd make that side as a bowler. Paul Strain, I think, was an excellent leg spinner. Graham Creamer makes my one-day side, and so
I was about to ask you about that.
And then Henry had genuine pace, and he's one guy who I saw unsettle international opposition, which was great. And then I think Blessing, Rosario Bunny, you can't get away. He's got some great numbers, and I love the way he goes about his work. And then unfortunately, Ray Price couldn't get into my side, but he's my 12th man.
Okay. Ray, you probably call you after the show.
I'm sure he will.
And then the one-day side?
One-day side, Neil Johnson and BT to open the batting. I think it'll be a really good opening combination. Again, Murray, he was a fantastic batsman. Yeah. I loved everything about him. And then Andrew Flower, Grant Flower in that middle order. Yeah. Probably Sean Williams again. Exactly through the middle playing spin. I think he'd do well there. Guy Whittle, my old roommate. Because he had come in and he'd bowl seamers for me as well. Yes. But he also lengthens my batting lineup. And then Graham Creamer comes in at 9. Or Heath Streak, I don't know how they'd probably fight over who would bat before each other.
Seniority will probably come in.
Exactly. And then Prosper, I think Prosper would say he'd be my offie. I think just to his, just like I said, his numbers were great, and he kept sides down well. And then Blessing again comes in. He's my specialist number 11. And again, Raymond couldn't make my side. But if there was an injury, he'd be in there.
How bad is it to be right now?
I'm not looking forward to the phone call that I've got to get.
Of course you will. You know you will.
I know I will.
One competitive fella, that one.
Extremely. Lovely to play with and against. We played a lot of cricket together. We're the same age and went through school, good guy, really good guy.
Yeah. Okay, so just some quick questions. Tendulkar or Lara?
Tendulkar.
Reason?
The most correct batter I've ever seen, and what he did, I actually think I got Lara out. I never ever looked like I was going to get Tendulkar out ever in my life. His bat looked about 4 inches wide, and he was he intimidated me, just the way he batted.
And currently, Kohli or Smith?
Kohli. Again, I'm going with classical. I like the way the guys play, but I love Kohli. Kohli's got a bit of a bit of something about him as well, as
Yeah.
does Smith, I suppose. Smith, very unorthodox, and he
Yes.
just gets the job done, definitely. But yeah, I think Kohli. Yeah, I think he's going to be a great player.
No, I'm sure this next question will be a difficult one. Test cricket or DI cricket or white ball cricket for you?
Test cricket.
Test cricket.
Yeah, it's for me. It's just the I know I ended up playing a lot more white ball cricket than I did Test match cricket, but I just think it's the pinnacle. I really do, and I think when you got 5 days to really examine an opposition.
Yes.
With their bowling, their fielding, their batting, it's an examination. That's why it's called a test, because it really is a test of everything.
Yeah.
And only the best players do well in that arena.
You did speak about your career as a player and your career now as a coach and what you're doing in and around the hub. Do you have any ambitions to become Zimbabwe's coach?
Oh, I mean, who wouldn't want to coach their country? Absolutely. I'd love to do that in time. It's obviously would be a great opportunity to give back to this wonderful game that's given me so much, and to do the things that how I would like to see them run. It would be interesting. It would be really interesting, and I think it would be fun.
Yeah, and just to put you on the spot, if you are to get the job today, one thing you would change?
Make sure all the players play club cricket.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that is a good one. That is a good one, because I do remember playing against you. I think it was at Harare Sports Club, 2008, and your team scored about 360 against us. You guys didn't see that coming. Eh? We ended up losing that game by 4 runs. Do you remember?
Oh wow! I do remember something like that. Yes,
It was at the practice ground on the right.
Okay.
Yes, and I
brilliant.
think Tino Maoyo played in that match for Harare Sports Club, and he scored about 70 in quick time.
All right.
And then
This is the first time he's done that.
Yeah, a small little fella called Tendai Bashonganjika came in and scored 125.
Right.
Yes,
it's ringing a bell now.
Ringing a bell, huh?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and it's lovely that you say that every player should play club cricket, and I think that does a lot for the game in terms of getting the young players to rub shoulders with international, really established players, and I think that's really a good one. I appreciate that a lot, and thank you very much for coming to us and allowing to have this conversation. I think we have another chance to probably have another chat.
I hope so. Thank you.
Exactly.
And thank you very much.
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show. We would like to thank everybody behind the scenes. Garry Brent for coming to the show and giving up more than an hour of his time and a lot more in preparation. This is Cotton Bout with Tinashe Chimbambo. We'll see you later.